This is going to be a short presentation on discussion rubrics that we'll be using to evaluate your discussion posts for the class. When you receive your grade, you go to your grade book to see how you did on a particular assignment, so you push the grade book button. Then you look for the assignment that you're interested in reviewing, and then you'll push on the View Rubric button. This will bring up a filled out form that shows the various criteria along the left side and then the various levels of achievement: poor, fair, good, and excellent. Now, we've been using these previously. This is not new, and even the categories that we're looking at aren't new. What's different about this new rubric will be that it will be visible to you when you look at your assignment. So you'll be able to go in, just like I'm doing now, and see how the individual elements of your discussion were graded. So I'll just look at an example here. One of the main categories is whether your discussion post contributed to scholarly discourse, which meant did you write something that was interesting and on topic and led to interesting responses from your classmates. The idea being, if you're going to be a professor, which a DBA is kind of leading you towards that path, then your questions and your statements need to advance the thinking in that particular area. In this particular example, the student achieved a fair rating. The posting stated the theory that was being covered but did not apply real-world experience and did not include examples. To have done better, there needed to be more real-world application and more examples. Within that particular category, we see that the student achieved a 18.75. That means that for this particular assignment, the possibilities were between 17.5, that would be still in the fair category. The highest would be 19.75, that would be in the fair category. In this instance, the achievement was rated at 18.75. And each of these standards, each one of the levels, will have a range of values within it, so that you could be excellent at the very high end, meaning you got full 25%, or you could be excellent at the lower level and get 22.5%. And this would be kind of the idea of A's and A pluses and A minuses within a particular category. So on this screen, we're seeing the number one category, which is the scholarly discourse. Number two category, the posting is insightful, thorough, includes applications of theory and law to real-world examples and experiences. The third category is response to learners, and again, each one of these is worth potentially 25% of the overall grade.
Ay, caramba!
And then in the last category, APA and writing mechanics, we can see that that's also worth a potential of 25%. And in this case, the theoretical student, Bart Simpson, didn't do that well. He ended up with a score of only 69.5 on the basis of his postings, but he did only 2 posts during the week rather than the required 3, and consequently he lost 13 points on the basis of a penalty, and so he ended up with 69.54. At the very bottom of this screen, you'll see the penalties that are applied, what are called compliance adjustments. If you only made one major post, it would be 25 points off whatever that post was worth. If you only made 2 posts, that would be 30 points off. Late original post, 10 points off. Participation on less than 2 different days, also minus 10. To see a different viewpoint, you can push the button List View, and this shows you the same information but in a different type of format. You see, I've also checked the boxes Show Descriptions and Show Feedback. So the keys to success, as I've mentioned before, the idea of rubrics isn't new. We've been using them in the classes, but you haven't been seeing them. Well, you're going to be seeing them now. Supposedly, rubrics have been implemented in all the assignments, all the discussion assignments, and all the paper assignments, so that you'll be able to see in more detail how your instructor is looking at the particular elements. And this should be very helpful because it'll help you know what's expected and where you're doing very well and where you need improvement. The main criteria that we use for this particular rubric for discussion posts is contributing to scholarly discourse, using real-world applications and examples, also being thorough, showing creative thinking, response to learners, how are you doing when you respond to the other writers, your classmates, and then the mechanics. Are you using spelling, grammar, APA format, and so on. The verbal description of the levels of achievement, whether it's poor, fair, good, or excellent, but what is required at each of those levels, now that is something that's new, and that would be the most important thing to pay attention to. So if you're not getting great grades on your discussion post, you should go into the rubric and sort of see, well, what am I not doing that the professor wants me to do? So as you consider your discussion post, and before you post it, evaluate it. How does it match up against the rubric? Does it cover each one of the criteria? And what level does it seem to achieve? All right, good luck with it. If this raises any questions or issues for you, you know how to reach me.